Hello everyone. It's been about 2 weeks since my last update, and although I haven't posted much, there's been a couple new developments in my bin, so let's quickly take a look. One of the things I noticed was the amount of the white bugs, and I'm assuming that they were fruit flies. And so watching other YouTube videos, one of the suggestions that they gave was to have a container of apple cider vinegar with a bit of honey and some dishwasher soap, and just leave it in a corner, such as this, and it will attract the fruit flies to them. And the interesting thing is, it does seem to work, because the number of fruit flies here has actually gone down quite significantly. So although it does smell a tiny bit like apple cider vinegar, there doesn't seem to be any effect towards the worms. And for my worms themselves, they another good thing about it is that they've actually started to lay eggs. And let me see if I can actually find any. Now, I am not sure if you can see this. Right here, we have baby, a little worm right there. So they are definitely multiplying, which is a great thing. One of the other things I've done is I've started using using a packaging method like this. I put the whatever waste material inside the packaging, inside the newspaper, wet it, open some holes up, and just leave it for the worms to actually crawl in. I'm not sure if there are any worms inside here. Let me just check. No, I don't see any worms inside, but there are definitely worms underneath them, which is nice. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but that right there is a tiny baby worm. So definitely getting some reproduction going on, which is great. In terms of the actual compost material themselves, it's like it does seem to be quite nice now. The worm population is slowly starting to grow, which is great. So there's pretty much that. And one of the other things I realize is that if you have a small worm bin like this, especially indoors, probably want to stay away from meat. I had a chicken drumstick here, and it just wasn't going anywhere, so I decided to throw that out midway. And yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't seem to have that much effect on the worms. The worms don't really seem to eat into it, most likely because it's not actually decomposing as much, or hasn't decomposed enough for the worms to actually feed onto it. So definitely stay away from meats unless you have a lot of worms. It's like, or unless you have nicely decomposed meats that you can actually put into it. So that's that for let's just check the bottom tray. Now, after I started doing the apple cider vinegar like this, what I realized is that in my collection tray, there's all the white bugs, the fruit flies. They all seem to congregate at the bottom. They all just seem to drop down and just congregate together. So what I've been doing is I've just actually been putting it on top of my apple cider vinegar bottle, and just basically let them just fall through. And this definitely does seem to get rid of a lot of them, which is great. I'm not sure if it's because they don't like the smell or whatnot, but it definitely has reduced the number of fruit flies, baby fruit flies in my bin. So it's definitely something worth trying out if you do have this problem. One of the other things that I've been reading or watching online that a lot of people have been doing is like especially if you have fruits, one of the first things that you should do is to freeze the fruits or the skins of the fruit before you put it into your bin. And the reason why is because it kills the fruit fly larvae, and so it's important for you to do that, or else you're just going to have a big mess, and it's just going to be a big pain to deal with. So I would definitely suggest that. But for the time being, that's pretty much it for now. I've been constantly monitoring the worm bin, and the worms are definitely happy. It's definitely they're definitely reproducing. In terms of sheer number of worms themselves, I figure I'm up to about 50-ish worms. As you can see, there are quite a few worms here, which I am quite happy about, and the new worms are definitely growing. So the compost material is definitely doing its thing, which I'm happy about. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this. The next half of my video, I'll focus on my Bokashi worms. I've been watching a couple other YouTube videos online about how other people deal with food waste, how they pre-decompose their food waste before they put it into the worm bin. Because one of the things that I've been realizing, thinking back on when I killed all my worms, was that while I put all that lettuce in, I think that the lettuce, it was starting to ferment and it needed to decompose, and that process there, it caused a lot of chemicals that worms don't like to exist inside the bin, and so it caused problems with the worms and ultimately resulting in their death. So besides the Bokashi bin, one of the other ideas that I had was just to use another bin to mix up my veggie waste with some with some coffee grinds, and start adding other plant material, some dead plant material, old apple peels, and even a watermelon rind into here, and just to see would this how it is that this would decompose, and would this also be a viable alternative to adding to my worms as well. So like the idea is like, you just allow it to mature and allow it to do its slight fermentation first before you add it into the worm bin. Now again, because there was fruits added to this, there's a lot of white bugs here, which definitely need to put fruits, like before you put it into your bin, you should definitely put it in your freezer just to kill off all the fruit flies. I also have the apple cider vinegar with a bit of honey and dishwashing soap, and just just to try to basically attract the fruit flies. I don't know if it's actually doing its thing, but like hopefully it will. But in terms of the actual fruits themselves, because there was some, I did put some old broccoli in here as well, and that definitely does seem to have started to break down a lot more. So I mean, this is probably going to be a slower process, and hopefully, like within the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's like I can start adding some of this to my worm bin as well. So, but this is just an experiment to see if this method also works. So, like, as an experiment. Anyways, it has been 12 days since I last closed my bokashi bin, and I have no idea what to expect from it. I have been regularly collecting the bokashi juice, and instead of using it to water any plants, I have, interestingly enough, been using it to clear my drains, because it's so acidic. It should actually be able to do that. On a regular basis, this shouldn't be too much of a problem, and since it's not that acidic, it shouldn't have any adverse effects. So let's just open this up and just see what it's like inside. Smell-wise, it smells. There definitely seems to be I'm not sure if I'm not adding enough bokashi powder to it or what, but there really does not seem to be anything else going on in here. Now, one of the things I've been doing on the side is because I don't actually generate that much waste, so I got these smaller buckets to do smaller containers worth of bokashi. And I don't know if you can see this white layer right here. This is basically what I should be looking at. If I open this one here. This one here I did May 10th, so it's been quite a few days. As you can see, this top layer of fuzz right here, that's what I should be looking at. Now, for some reason, for whatever reason, I am not getting that in my main bin, which is, it could be that I just overloaded it with too much stuff or something, but this was May 10th. I mean, even my May 14th one, I'm getting some white stuff here. This was from 2 days ago, so I'm not supposed to see that much stuff. But for a bin that should be working, as my wife says, it smells. So I definitely need to add a lot more bokashi powder to this and mix it up with some more. So yet again, I'll probably have to wait another 2, maybe 3 weeks in order for the bokashi bin to yield anything. Yeah. Anyways, that's really all I have to update for today. So I will add more stuff, and then I'll post another video at some point in time in the future. See you all.